Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and we got some news that changes my perspective on Switch collecting. Now, many of you who've been following the channel from day one, you know that I was an avid Switch collector, and at one point I had over 450 Switch games, which is nothing in comparison to what some collections look like today. Over the years, people have been building and amassing extremely large Switch collections, and I personally stopped collecting for the Switch. And in fact, I sold off a lot of my Switch collection because I felt like I had more time, more of a runway to collect for the Switch as opposed to other consoles whose prices were just going through the roof. In my opinion, at the time, I thought that if I waited until kind of like the end of the Switch life cycle, I figured pricing would be better. A lot of these games would be going on sale. And even if like big box retailers wouldn't put these games on sale, they'd probably be cheaper in the secondary market. Well, now Nintendo has recently announced that or they've confirmed rather, that the new console will be backwards compatible with Nintendo Switch games. And what this means to me, in my opinion, is that the current prices of Switch games are not going to go down. It doesn't mean that they're going to shoot up, but I think that the prices that we're seeing for certain games are going to stay the same. And I feel like when it comes to certain games or most games, the only time you're really going to be able to get a deal or a steal is if a big box retailer rather puts a game on some type of clearance or discount or sale or Black Friday or something of that nature. Now, Black Friday is on its way, and Nintendo has said that they're going to be announcing the new console within this fiscal year. So that gives them up until March of next year to let us know what exactly this new Nintendo console is going to look like. But when it comes to Switch games, I think that what we're going to see is, for one, all of the Nintendo branded Switch games. So your Mario games, your Metroid games, your Zelda games, your Luigi games, your Kirby games, your Princess Peach games, all of those games, I don't think, like Smash Bros, I don't think we're going to see any type of dip in those games. Those games are going to be priced at what they're priced at for at least the next 5 to 8 years, because we're at least 8 years into this current Switch life cycle, and we've seen prices for certain games stay exactly the same. Nothing's changed. Um, Now, the other factor to this is that there have been a lot of Switch games that have been produced that have been, artificially, uh, they've artificially been made scarce, right? So we've got a lot of different companies that come up with these limited run, no pun intended, of different games that have made certain games more rare than other games. And I don't know if we'll see a resurgence of those types of companies when the new Nintendo console comes out. And I'm wondering if people are even going to care. But I do think that what this means for the Switch titles that are already rare and already expensive, those physical titles may continue to go up. And I think those will continue to shoot up in value because the fact that this new console can play Switch games, it just dramatically boosts the life cycle for a lot of these games. It means that these Switch games that are already rare will remain relevant for as long as the next Switch console continues to play physical games. The last console before the Switch, I believe, was the Wii U, which utilized discs. Same thing with the Wii, utilized discs. And I think before that, it was the GameCube, which again, discs. So we haven't really seen a backwards compatible console from Nintendo since I don't know, maybe the Wii U, because I can't remember if the Wii U played Wii games. I know the Wii played GameCube games, but you guys can let me know that down in the comments. So this is going to be the first time in quite some time that we're getting a console from Nintendo that plays last generation games. And the Switch library has been one of the largest libraries that we've seen to date. And on top of that, the Switch is at this point, man, I'm pretty sure they've sold at least over 1 billion consoles. I mean, I could be wrong on that too, but let me know. I feel like at this point, the Nintendo Switch has got to be one of the highest selling consoles, if not the highest selling console of all time at this point. So there are going to be games, and there will always be games available for those who want to start a Switch collection. But I think when it comes to, like I said, some of the more limited games, some of the more rare titles, a lot of those indie titles, I think that's where we're going to start to see a lot of change in the prices for some of these games. And why does this matter? It matters because there's going to be a whole new generation that is going to get this next generation console that may have never had a chance to play some of these older Switch games. Because you got to think, 3 years from now, when the new Nintendo console is just hitting its stride, folks who got the first Switch back in 2013, 2014, whatever, those games are going to be at least a decade old. So, or if not more. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the newer generation feels about going back and playing some of these older Switch games, which are still going to be relevant to them because of the fact that the newer console has the backwards compatibility. What does this mean for me? Well, it kind of changes my perspective on my Switch collection. I'm glad that I never sold a lot of the Switch games that meant the most to me. I still have a moderate Switch collection of about 55 to 65 games. And I've kept a lot of the games that I really want. But I think what it means for me is that once I'm able to get all of the retro games that I have on my list, I probably will return to collecting Switch games, but I'll really be looking to pick games up at a discount, at a severe discount. And I'm really only going to be looking for probably indie titles. I probably won't be going after the AAA stuff. I'll probably only go after indie titles. Probably select beat 'em ups, shoot 'em ups, action platformers, modern retro, classic style games. I am going to start to build back up my Switch collection, but it will be tailored. And perhaps I'll do a series on that. I'll really have to monitor that though, because it's easy to get lost in the Switch. I remember when I was collecting for the Switch, because they release Switch games literally every week, it feels like. Sometimes it feels like they're releasing a new Switch game every day. It's easy to get lost in the sauce with Switch and just buy a ton of Switch games. It's easy to have walls and walls of Switch games. And that's not something that I want to go back to at all. So, but I do think that this new console having the backwards compatibility is interesting. And I think that what it's going to mean is that I don't anticipate there being a drop off in Switch game prices like I thought there was going to be. If the newer console was not backwards compatible, then that might have been different because now, all these Switch games are pretty much locked to the Switch or the Switch OLED. The fact that now these games new life has been breathed into these games by virtue of the new console being able to play these cartridges, I think it's going to sustain current prices, and we might see prices for certain games go up even more. I definitely don't think that we're going to see the type of drop that we'll see in maybe like PlayStation 4 games. Even though I think the PS5 is backwards compatible, maybe I'm wrong on that. You guys let me know. I don't have my PlayStation 5 yet. And even though the PlayStation 5, most of the games that are out for the PlayStation 4 are on the PlayStation 5, I think we're going to see a greater drop off in PlayStation 4 games, the prices of PlayStation 4 games. I definitely think we'll see a greater drop off there than we will see with Switch games. And in fact, we're already seeing a drop off with a lot of PlayStation 4 games, and there are a lot of PS4 games that you can get for cheaper, much cheaper than you could probably a couple years ago. So let me know down in the comments how you think, what you think about this, how you feel. Do you think that the fact that the new console will play Switch games is going to affect prices? And if so, do you think it's going to sustain prices? Do you think prices will go up, or do you think prices will go down? I think this is a very important topic for collectors, for people who've waited on collecting Switch games in hopes that prices will drop. Because if prices are not going to drop and there are Switch games that you want to get, it may make more sense to get them now than later. But let me know what you think down in the comments. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.